Knights of the Chalice 2, Beg for Mercy Edition. This game will kill you and reward you. Would you like your party to be obliterated completely in the first 10 minutes of a tutorial by golems? Would you like your party to be crunched into oblivion by stairs that are greased? How about facing an ethereal ghost dragon that berserks your party at level 5? How about a tutorial that took me 14 hours and 30 deaths to win? Prepare yourself for Knights of the Chalice 2, Beg for Mercy Edition. This game was made by Pierre Beg over 10 years.
Switch your minds. Prepare yourselves for the ultimate challenge.
Hello and welcome, RPG lovers. I'm Pierre.
An insane mastermind of the D&D 3.5 rules system. He will make you beg you for mercy. Sorry, Pierre. This game will make you juggle your resources very wisely and turn your concepts of combat upside down. You will be forged by this crucible of a game. Join me on my experience through this 14-hour-long gauntlet of pain that is the tutorial of the game. Knights of the Chalice 2 is based on the D&D 3.5 rule set. For those of you not familiar, you roll a 20-sided die anytime you want to complete an action. You then add strength to that roll if you are swinging a sword or trying to break down a door. This game follows these rules. Our main character for the tutorial will be a salamander monk. The salamander adds cold damage to our unarmed attacks. This makes him hit very hard in the beginning of the game. Monks get more attacks earlier per round of combat than other classes thanks to flurry of blows. The story for the tutorial is simple but surprisingly has some fun choices. You summon an old specter named Wardell whose spirit is trapped in this place. Through his guidance, you recover his soul stone and the soul stone of his love, Sedina. However, the evil forces of Astaroth and his deity offer you some pretty tempting gold if you mess with his soul. The very beginning has us meet Timothy, a fellow fighter with a horrendously bad constitution. Timothy is a fighter and gets a lot of feats every level. Feats are special abilities that usually make you very good at a particular action. For example, Timothy will be a tripping and shoving god. In this game's version of the 3.5 rules, taking Greater Trip and Bull Rush allows our actions to cost a free action or a move action. This makes our characters perform way more actions in combat. In the very beginning of the game, the fights start off easy. We take on a group of slimes. We dispatch them with little effort. Then we are joined by Philanthir the Wizard. The daft wizard is out of spells and we have no option to rest yet. But earlier we got a wand of magic missiles. The next fight will be against crystal golems that only take normal damage from force damage, aka magic missiles. The rest of the party will have to flee from the golems' onslaughts. Mal gets his head knocked in. Little Timmy does his best to defend Philanthir, but the wizard can fly and does not need his protection. We down the golems with some magic missile fire. On earlier attempts at this fight, I had entire party wipes happen when the golems rolled higher initiative than the whole party. Then they killed the newbies. Good times. Then the difficulty begins to ramp up by a fight against a skeleton with a +1 flaming sword, damage reduction against non-bludgeoning, and some bugs and snakes. Note that this is our third combat encounter, and we have not been able to rest or recover anything. We make do by having Timmy trip the skeleton to control him from hitting us, and allowing us free attacks when he stands up. But the skeleton guts him dead. Not unconscious, but dead, meaning we have to resurrect him. Mal gets eaten by a giant centipede and Philanthir barely finishes the fight with an almost empty wand of magic missiles. Talk about close fights in the first half hour of the tutorial.
The spirits of the dead are...
After the battle is complete, we meet Valian, the highest damage dealer in the tutorial for our party. She is a rogue, and when the enemy is flanked, 2 allies on opposite sides of an enemy, or the enemy is blinded, she gets to roll a bunch of extra damage. This works perfectly for our trip strategy with Timothy and Mal. The enemy will always get sneak attacked, and usually it will be for free, and on the enemy's turn. She also has a gaze attack that can blind everyone. Very handy character. Something else that is different from normal 3.5 rules is that rogues get arcane spells from the wizard class. Very useful for buffing her defenses sky high with blur or mirror image. After battling some bugbears, we meet Ronya the Bard.
Rich.
Bards get some amazing group-wide buffs in the form of increasing all attack rolls, saves, or even the difficulty of resisting your spells. Ronya in particular has 4 arms, and can make a lot of attacks per round on top of her singing abilities. We just need to get her some weapons. So it's been 4 combat encounters and we have not been able to rest our party. Why is this? Well, we did discover a fountain with 4 uses. It completely heals, resurrects, and restores abilities and spells. But we have to treat this thing like rare treasure. Resting is very limited in Knights of the Chalice 2. Campfires allow your whole party to rest, but again are pretty rare. I am going to save the fountain to use on Phalanthir to restore his spells when he gets to higher levels. That way we get the most use out of the fountain. For healing, we are going to rely on potions and healing through vendors when we find them. Like I said before, this game is about juggling your resources and getting the maximum use out of your characters. The first real difficult encounter is one against a Dark Elf Necromancer and Dark Elf Rogue. They outnumber us with their undead they summon. The Dark Elf Rogue also has a crazy weapon, a +1 keen acidic unholy rapier. Our wizard gets color sprayed, preventing his movement in the beginning. However, the bard is quick to bull rush the necromancer into the fire pit. Little Timmy trips the rogue. We get some decent attack of opportunities, but the rogue stands up anyways and sends Timmy back to Slumberland. Our wizard summons a fire elemental to increase our damage output. Ronya proves to be the MVP by knocking a mummy into the fire pit. That is until a skeleton slaps her into unconsciousness. Mal finishes off the rogue with a 1-2 punch. Mal keeps up the kung fu action by scattering some bones, but a mummy gets revenge by eating Valian's brains. The party barely hangs on at Mal being at 2 hit points and the last mummy going down.
Look at this. Treasure.
So now it's time to level up and distribute gear. Without question, Valian is going to get the +1 keen acidic unholy rapier. She can sneak attack with it relentlessly. On top of this, I grab combat reflexes so she can make a lot more attack of opportunities against opponents who are prone, since Timothy and Mal are tripping machines. They set them up, she puts them down. Permanently. My strategy otherwise for our martial guys is to get blind fighting to roll twice when concealment blocks our attack chance and then get combat reflexes for everyone. Phalanthir is critical to our strategy. The wizard will take Widen and hurl grease spells to continually trip enemies prone, so we can beat on them with free attacks of opportunity. I have him take Metamagic Widen, and another feat that reduces the metamagic cost by 1. This makes his level 2 spell slots all larger grease spells. He will also use Web to disable large portions of the battlefield. After prepping our characters and healing them up, we have a few more encounters before our next big challenge. Note, we have not used any campfires for these encounters. We use Wardell's Soulstone to open up the eastern wing. Then we take on a skeleton lieutenant and 5 skeleton warriors.
Death.
We use grease and attack of opportunities to deal with them. These next combat encounters, I am going to lightly gloss over. It's only important for you to see how much combat we do have to do, so you can get a picture of how to use your resources in this game. After dealing with the cultists, we do use the fountain to restore Phalanthir's spells. We can use it one more time. I am definitely going to save it for restoring more of Phalanthir's spells. Hopefully I can stretch it to 3rd level. Our next encounter is a random one, a Giralon demon. Valian takes it down with crits and sneak attacks. There is a book for dispelling illusions that is part of a puzzle later on for getting some amazing loot. We take on some insect illusions easily. The next challenging encounter is an ambush by a wizard, some barbarians, and some cultists at the top of some stairs. They use grease and trips to knock our guys downstairs. We use the same tactics against them. I love this encounter a lot. Very creative use of elevated terrain and spells. We heal up with some potions, but then run into a trick encounter where a damsel in distress turns out to be kobolds using illusions to trick us. We dispatch of them, but not before taking some damage.
It doesn't feel
After that, and spending some of our last potions, we run into mimics that want to chomp us, and then get interrupted by a minotaur. And on our way back to buy more healing potions, run into a random ogre. We restock our healing potions and get back on the warpath. We are greeted by a random encounter of fire elementals, and then another group of thugs. Still no campfire or last fountain use going on after these encounters. Valian proves to be the sole survivor of this fight. Thankfully, she wins it before everyone dies. An enormous snake confronts us after that. Right around the corner is a hill giant, some orc wizards and orc warriors and barbarians. After all of that, we are finally able to get 3rd level spells for Philanthir. We pick haste for all of our melee attackers and fireball for dealing with big crowds and using grease and web more effectively. We arrive at the middle of the tutorial at this point. Yep, after all of that, we are just over halfway done. It is time to deal with Astaroth. This demon mage is aligned with the evil god. He will give us gold for giving him the soul stones of Sedina and Wardell. We opt instead to kill him for his loot, and also because we cannot get Sedina's soul stone yet. This fight is very challenging because we are dealing with Medusas that can easily petrify our party, taking them out of the fight if they fail one roll. We also have to deal with snakes that will grapple us while Astaroth fireballs us or casts other controlling spells. I die over and over to this encounter. It's mostly the Medusas being a pain in my ass and petrifying. Astaroth can then compound our mistakes into defeat by blasting us or wearing us down enough for snakes or gargoyles to eat us. Finally, I get the right tactics down. Web the Medusas and troll, and then bully Astaroth into the fire pit with Timothy. Timmy keeps bullying Astaroth into the pit. Mal bullies the gargoyle into the pit. Philanthir's water elemental crushes the snakes. Then we blind the Medusas with glitter dust, and then Mal and little Timmy begin doing what they do best, trip and bully with attack of opportunities. It's a total permissive melee combat style, and I love it. I work my way down the monster food chain. Even with their damage reduction, we repeat blind the other group and slaughter them too. Unfortunately, little Timmy gets his head caved in by the troll. Philanthir comes in at the end with magic missiles to help clean up the wounded while Mal keeps them pinned. This was a very tough battle, but it's not the toughest in this tutorial.
I am rich. We will need to rest soon.
So after this, we get some much needed healing and level up. After that, it's time to head to the next section where we solve one of the puzzles with a clue we found near the illusion insects. This lets us into an area where we fight some spiders. It's a longer fight because of their webs, but not a harder one. We then find Sedina, who has the intelligence of a child for some reason. She demands that we find her horse. So it's time to try and find that. We find a tool for copying the book of dispelling illusion magic. This lets us be able to sell the copy of the book to the dwarves in exchange for a very powerful artifact. Unfortunately, none of us can use it, but we get some amazing gold out of it. This is helpful in recharging our magic missile wands, potions, and getting some more magic items. One important fight is where we encounter another group of adventurers. We definitely want to fight them. Why? The reason is because I have some meta knowledge that I wished I had in my first playthrough of the tutorial. If you do not fight this group, they will attack you in the very last encounter, making it very difficult to win. So we cast Stinking Cloud on their casters. Meanwhile, Mal and Timmy and Valian clean up, Another good reason to fight this group is because it gets Gareth the cleric to join you. He is a badass cleric with useful equipment and great feats and spells. He will be enormously helpful in the last fight. I truly wished I had him on my side the first time I completed this. For loot in this encounter, we get some amazing stuff. We get a pole that can help us get into the Ghost Dragon room. We nab the extremely powerful anti-undead sword Spiritbane. This thing is going to nuke all the dangerous undead we face. We give this to Timothy. And we get some valuable gems and gold so we can outfit ourselves better at the merchants. We are able to use the pole we got to break into the Ghost Dragon room. Here is a tough encounter with a Ghost Dragon that has a breath weapon that can berserk your whole party. He is guarded by a Shadow Cleric, a Shadow, and 2 Ghoul Warriors. We use Spiritbane to annihilate the Ghost Dragon with 1,0,0,0,0 damage. The other undead monsters are easy pickings thanks to Timothy. We are able to use a break enchantment scroll to free Thulak. The water elemental druid was trapped here after failing to save Wardell and Sedina from Astaroth's plans. For a reward, he gives us Sedina's horse and wants to join our party. He is a high-level Necromancer druid. Druids in this game are very cool with Wild Shape. Wild Shape is used for spells that give you different natural weapon attacks. Wild Shape feats make these spells cast at faster speeds like movement actions. They are a unique self-buffing caster in this way. After nabbing Thulak and the amazing loot from the Ghost Dragon, we skedaddle over to Sedina and give her horse to her. She is grateful and gives us her soul stone. This is important because it allows us to complete the main story of the tutorial and lay Sedina and Wardell's soul to rest. However, there is one optional encounter that I really want to complete. It is dispelling the illusion of the Red Dragon. In the corner of the dungeon, there is a CR-32 Red Dragon. It has been there ever since we fought the Skeleton Lieutenant in the eastern part of this dungeon. We can use our book to destroy the illusion and fight a lesser creature that is real. The Red Dragon Baramthaghor is ferocious and hits very hard. He has a crazy breath weapon and super high saves, so we cannot trip him or grease him or control him. We have to fight him straight out. We have to outdamage him. So we go in with everyone and lay waste. He takes a few of us, but we are able to kill the level 16 dragon. Now you get to see the reason why I wanted to kill the dragon. He gives you the best loot in the tutorial, and a taste of the best loot in the entire game. We get access to a ton of gold and several artifacts, such as a tower shield that gives plus 27 total to AC, star diamonds that allow the highest levels of enchantments at vendors, robe of protection 10, a circlet of the healer. Just so much good stuff. So we use all of the gold and items we do not need to forge amazing items for all of our character needs. Mal the monk gets gauntlets of destruction that give him a flat extra 3d6 damage for every attack he makes. Our rogue and fighter have insanely hard to hit armor classes. Our wizard gets a robe that gives him 1 extra spell slot of every level that he has. We are fully equipped to deal with anything the game has to throw at us. To prepare ourselves for the final fight, we use a campfire to restore all of our best abilities and heal all the ability damage we have taken over the course of the tutorial. This final fight was insanely hard my first time through. We are fighting a vampire warlock and mummy wizard that both have high AC, 6 mirror images and blur, making them very difficult to hit. They are guarded by a Babao demon, 3 giant skeletons that are very strong and want to slide you into the cold damage pits, and a mess of extra ghoul and skeleton warriors. But wait, there's more. Every other round or so, enemy reinforcements appear. The first one is a very tough flying demon bird called a Vrock. Then we have 2 vampire dominators and 2 vampire clerics come in to mess us up with domination. Then we finally have 2 shadow monks that are very hard to hit in melee. Oh, and if you did not kill Gareth's party from before, be prepared for them to attack you after all of this is spawned in. It's a fantastically difficult fight that is also very doable and fun. We get to pick 2 options for making this fight easier. We pick having our entire party start hasted and get a surprise round. We spring into action with an Iron Golem level 9 spell scroll. Gareth, our new cleric, smites everyone for big damage. He also stuns a good amount of undead. Valiant assassinates the vampire cleric. Mal shadowboxes the Babao. The Vrock invades the party. Philanthir cuts off half the battlefield with a wall of acid and melts a giant skeleton. Timmy bullies the mummy wizard into a cold damage pit. Thulak throws up a nest of spikes that deal damage and make it harder to move. Gareth stones a giant skeleton down. Valian heads north to cut down skeletons. Babao gets attack of opportunity to death by Timothy and Thulak. Undead are too scared to cross Wall of Acid. Mal sprints across spikes to box the rock demon. Ghoul crosses the Wall of Acid. More undead spawn in, including the skeletons and vampire dominators and clerics. Philanthir lays down a fireball. The mummy wizard cooks in the cold pit. At this point, our strategy is to concentrate on the northeast and work down the Vrock and vampires that will spawn in up there. A skeleton pisses off Valian by moving. Gareth stones the new vampire reinforcements that Philanthir fireballed. Easy pickings. Valian sneak attacks the Vrock thanks to Timothy flanking it. Undead get impatient and start throwing themselves into the acid wall. Vrock tries to hit Timothy, but his AC is too damn high for most of the attacks. Undead continue to suicide into the Wall of Acid. Ronya makes the ghoul join his friends in the Wall of Acid. Mal flurries the Vrock. Meanwhile, another vampire cleric and vampire dominator come in along with more skeletons. Philanthir nukes the newcomers and the Vrock. The mummy continues to cook in the cold pit. The iron golem pulverizes one of the skeleton newcomers. Gareth continues stoning vampires, but missing everyone else. Shadow monks silently come in. The mummy finally dies to cold damage in the pit. Little Timmy Whirlwind attacks with Spirit Bane, taking down a vampire. The fight is drawing to a close. We have got this. Gareth Holy smites the undead, taking out the final vampire and hurting the shadows. Philanthir blasts the shadow with a shotgun of magic missiles. Our last enemy to pop in is a hill giant CR7 that finally appeared in the starting stairs. Gareth sends triple magic stones at him. The hill giant grapples with our iron golem. For jokes, Philanthir energy walls the grappling hill giant. Valian gets a nasty hit in, but the iron golem kills the hill giant with its massive fists.
The spirits of the dead are now avenged.
The first time I played this tutorial, I had to retry this fight over 10 times. But with finding all this extra gear and getting prepared, I was able to really whip this encounter. Afterward, we are allowed to put a combination of soul crystals into the pool. Astaroths, Wardels, and Sedinas. We go with the good victory at first of reuniting Wardell and Sedina. The victory screen is shown to us at long last, showing the spirits of Wardell and Sedina reunited. The game instructs us that the real adventure begins with playing the Augury of Chaos. Wow, what a tutorial. The actual game must be utterly insane. I can't wait to play it. Now to show the evil ending. I place the soul stones of Wardell and Astaroth into the communion pool. Now the two enemies can continue fighting in the next plane. And we get to collect our reward of 1 million gold pieces.
I am rich.
Well, this is the end of this Let's Play. I had to play through this one twice, and I still did not do everything. So all in all, the tutorial has taken me 14 hours for the first time, plus 9 hours for the second time, for a total of 23 hours. That is so crazy for a tutorial. Let me know if you would like to see me conquer the Augury of Chaos. There is not a complete playthrough of this game on YouTube. I would love to be the first one. Well, that is all for now. Until I see you all on the next one. Ave atque, vale, mal.